So ace queen, I especially live, I always assume people are opening too wide out of the small blind. And they also defend too liberally against my three bets, thinking that I'm just going bonkers because we're heads up. So I'm almost always going up to $9 or $10 here. I don't know about you. You typically call with ace
Yeah.
queen or three
Yeah, three bet easy.
because I just know that my live opponents are defending with all these hands like ace ten offsuit, all the suited aces. They're out of position against me. They just cannot put up enough of a fight. Uh, 7-6 suited, all the suited connectors I really like raising out of the small blind
Yep.
uh, because they're easier to barrel with. So I take the uh, the offsuit hands that are weaker, but you still have an opportunity to continue with, like King 4 off or Ace Deuce off, and I limp call with those. With the suited connectors, I like to fire because it just makes it easier for me to continue to barrel. Um, and I'm typically 3xing out of the small blind. So now, when you see this flop, what are your thoughts?
Pretty easy C bet. We represent the ace pretty well, and we have the open end equity. And so.
Yeah, I think our range has more ace X than Snowie's range. We have ace king, ace queen, ace jack, while Snowie doesn't. He would have three bet with those combos the majority of the time. I know that since it's heads up, Snowie's definitely going to put up a fight on this board. It's not folding any pair, uh, any flush draw, any backdoor diamonds, or any gut shot. But there are still hands in its range that you can force out. Hands as strong as like queen jack with no backdoors. Um, so we can definitely generate enough outright fold equity in this spot, and then we also have equity to go with it. So I'm planning on firing most blank turns, especially the ones that don't pair the board, and I'm planning on firing on hearts too, unless it's like the five of hearts. So it's really important to slow down in these spots, especially when ranges are really wide, and truly consider what you're planning on doing on all the different turns and rivers. You don't have to list all of the cards in your head, but know the certain textures and think about all of that before you decide to throw out the C bet, because it'll save you a lot of money in the long run. The other thing is timing tells, because if somebody raises you and you don't know what to do here, or if the nine of clubs comes off on the turn and you didn't have a plan for the turn, you can give away timing tells when you're playing live, and that also sucks when you start moving up in stakes.
Yeah.
So, and again, we just see that and take it down, but it's really important to factor that stuff in. Now, King 8 off, Snowy says to fold. Again, if you're playing live and it doesn't have that insane rake, I would always open here.
Okay.
Now, here I actually go back and forth between checking and betting. So if this king was not a spade, I would check here.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was thinking.
But since it's a spade, I like to bet to buy up overcard equity, so we can buy up queen X, jack X, 10x, 9x from our opponent's range. We're getting called by all the weaker eights in Snowy's range. He's also peeling us with weaker with spades and some of the 4x actually. So we can generate some value by c betting, and we can buy up equity from Snowy, and then we can also turn our hand into a bluff on the turn if spades come in. So that's what I would do. It likes betting a quarter pot here. I would go half actually. And let's see. EV is almost identical. So what are your thoughts on these multi-way pots?
This board here, I think particularly, I know we do have backdoor clubs. I just think it hits, it just hits like the jack 10, the queen jack. Hands are calling, even with like the big blinds defending the 6-7. so many hands. I think we just checking back here.
Yeah, it's too connected for me. I need to have
Yeah.
some more equity than just ace king with backdoor clubs to be firing here. So tell me what your typical c betting range would be here.
Um, Jack 10, Queen Jack. Ace 9. I don't even know if I bet ace 8. That type of stuff.
Yeah, I think my range here would be almost all of the hearts. I would check back maybe 10-9 of hearts every once in a while so that I can actually make a flush the times that I check back. That's a mistake that a lot of people make. They bet all of their flush draws on the flop, and then the times that they check back the flop, they never have a flush when hearts come in. And that's something that I consistently exploit even in bigger games. So it's important if you flop a pair and a flush draw to sometimes check back with it, especially if it's a pair that doesn't have or that has some showdown value. So a hand like if you're ever opening 9-7 of hearts here, that would be the perfect hand to check back this flop with for balance purposes, and it'll just make you really tough to play against because people can't like pot the turn and overbet against you when a heart comes in. Now, so I'm betting almost all of my hearts. I'm betting Jack 10. I think probably Queen Jack of clubs, and then 7-6. And for value, I'm betting all the over pairs, 9s, 8s, 4s, 9-8 suited, and probably ace 9 and king 9 here, I think. And then if I get check raised, I'm probably over folding against most opponents because I don't think live opponents check raise flush draws often enough. What I've been seeing lately is most of them are. It's just been a trend in poker in general. Is most of them are just check calling with all of their draws and check raising with sets. I'm not sure if you've noticed that at all or what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, especially in tournaments, like it used to be on this board, if I see bet with ace 9 and somebody check raised me, I should plan on calling down on good runouts. Nowadays, people have completely switched it up. They just check call versus the smaller sizing and MTTs with all their draws, and they check raise with all of their sets, and it's very, very exploitable. So I would typically play a little bit tighter versus a check raise than most people. And then here, don't call against a live opponent. This is a fold against live opponents. And I don't like blasting with 8-5 off. I like to raise with the suited hands and the broadways.
That one, the last hand, real quick. You said like the hands you would bet. You mentioned Queen Jack clubs, but you didn't. Queen Jack of hearts. I assume you're betting too, right?
Yeah, Queen Jack of clubs, Queen Jack of hearts, and I think I would check the other Queen Jacks because if you're betting with all 16 of them, you're probably like starting to get a little bit out of control on that board. Because just remember that those offsuit hands, there are a ton of combos. There are 16 of those combos, and if you're betting with all of them, like your range starts to get huge right away, and you don't even realize it.
So if it's like Queen Jack off with like a Queen or Jack of hearts, then you bet those ones also, or at least the Queen of hearts, or
I would for sure bet the Queen of hearts, probably the Jack of hearts, especially if my opponents are pretty face up. But just like the Queen of spades, Jack of clubs combos, I would just check back with that.
Yep.
I think that's you're getting like too crazy. The other thing is if let's say that you raised from the cutoff and then the button flatted you and the big blind called instead of you raising from the button and getting called by the small blind and the big blind. That's a very different situation because when you're raising from the cutoff and getting flatted by the button, you know that he has even more board coverage on that board. So I would probably take out all of the Queen Jacks except Queen Jack of hearts and Queen Jack of clubs. So I don't know. Every situation is different, and it might not seem so calculated when you're playing 5-5 in Pittsburgh. But as you move up in stakes, like you're going to start to notice this stuff, and all of this slowly starts to add to your win rate. So $5 here, $5 there. Pretty soon you've added $20 to your long-term win rate, and it's huge.
Okay.
Because you have everything that you need to be successful now. All I'm trying to do is point out some smaller spots that maybe you haven't noticed in the past.
Yep.
Here I actually like calling with King 5 off. I think it plays better as a call. And then I think limp folding and doing what Snowy says is fine. Because it just will not play very well out of position. But the worst thing that you could do is raise out of the small there, I think. Now, King 10 off, I'm always raising. And again, against anybody that I'm playing live, even as crazy as the games are in South Florida, I'm just folding King 10 off here when the big blind 3-bets me, because he has so much incentive to just call and end the action pre-flop that if he ever takes the initiative and decides to 3-bet me, especially when I'm playing against live opponents, their range is very, very nutted, and I would typically just respect that and fold. If people ever switch it up and start 3-betting an absurd amount out of the big blind, I might start losing a lot of money, but I don't see that happening anytime in the foreseeable future. Now here, tell me what a typical opponent is c-betting with on this flop. As hands that you beat, I mean.
Not a lot, right?
No, I mean I think they're following through with every ace of hearts. Tons of combos of like Jack 10, and then like random hands like 10-9 with the 10 of hearts. I also see people like going way overboard with a hand like pocket 9s with the 9 of hearts and just c-betting with that and not even knowing why they're trying to do that. The other thing is you're in position here, so you're getting a little bit better view of your opponent's range than he is of you. So there are times when the 4th heart will come in and you can take it away from him and still rep the ace of hearts. So I'm always going to continue at least one time and reevaluate on the turn. And it's kind of an in-game decision for me because every opponent's different. So now here, again, I'm probably going to be defending against most opponents and giving up on a lot of rivers here because I don't see a lot of guys just firing off on blank rivers. Like if this river is the deuce of spades, I don't see very many guys live just over bluffing in spots like this because it looks like hearts missed and they feel like I'm calling a lot and they don't feel like putting a ton of pressure on me. So that's just my general approach to these spots. Now here the 5 of hearts comes in and I think it's usually best to fold, especially when he pots it.
Yeah.
But it's important to know how many bets you should be calling in general on boards like that. I like to call twice with middle pair against most guys.
Okay.
Now here 6-4 suited. I'm pretty much always raising out of the small. Again, just because you can barrel more often than a hand like 10-9 off. Six-3 of clubs might be an open if the button is super tight and the blinds are bad.
Okay.
But for the most part, I'm not going that crazy. And ace-king, I'm always 3-betting here. So now keep in mind how this is going to play out here because Snowy is min-raising. And we're going up to 7x, so 7 big blinds. This is almost like playing 200 big blinds deep in a live game because he's opening so small. So like typically if you're playing 5-10 on Tuesday, somebody's opening to 35 or 40, and then you're going up to probably 125 here. And that's a ton of big blinds. That's 12.5 big blinds in a 5-10 game.
Yeah.
Right? So it's almost you have 200 big blinds when you're playing on Tuesday, but it's almost like playing with 100 big blinds because the pre-flop sizing is so huge.
Okay.
So, and now here when Snowy is opening smaller, he's min raising. It's almost like we're playing 200 big blinds deep here because the pre-flop sizing is so small. So factor that in.
Okay.
The other thing is if you said maybe guys in your game occasionally make it 2.5x. Did you ever say that?
Yeah.
If they start doing that against you, especially when stacks are deep, you should 4x against them. So go up to at least 100, maybe more.
Okay.
Because a lot of these guys are opening smaller pre-flop to give themselves a better price if they get 3-bet, especially if they're in position. So to take that away from them and prevent them from being able to very easily call with suited connectors and all the pairs, I like to go a little bit bigger. And what I found is that they'll still defend with those hands. They'll still call a $125 3-bet with pocket sixes. And I just want to juice the pot as much as possible, especially when I have initiative and I can force them to fold on a lot of boards if I keep firing barrels. So I have a lot of thoughts about these spots.